Welcome to Dark Souls Part 24. I know you've been waiting for it. Oh, what a story to tell in regards to this. First, let's see. A lot of people have been playing Bloodborne, of course, so there hasn't been a lot of demand for this particular part. And I had a lot of work to do, so I started on the art gripe videos, and I had some other things to do, like commissions and whatnot. I also had to do shit like taxes, real life stuff. So I ended up with a big ball of stuff to do, and then I finally got around to recording it, and because of the art gripe video in which I had to turn sound off in order to record high frame rate video, I had the sound turned off on Bandicam, so I ended up recording this episode with absolutely no game sound. The commentary was still there, but no game audio, which was kind of shitty, so I have opted to do it all over again. I love my life so much, it's so marvelous. Okay. But this is especially great because I've actually now had to do this 3 times, because the first time I noticed there was something wrong with the video recording, so that was fucked up. So I had to do this little path over again, and then of course I did it once before, and I'm going to have to do it a 3rd time. And you'll notice over there that the item in question that we were supposed to be getting isn't even there. It's not even there. No, it's not even there. And that's because I've already done this. I had to roll back to a prior save. I used 40 prism stones, apparently, so I'm going to be almost out by the time I'm done with this. So I already have that item over there, which is a blue titanite slab, and I also got one further down. But that's it, so it's not that big of a deal. So in order to get through this shitstorm of invisible shitfuckery, we're going to have to slowly creep our way forward, tossing these adorable little prism stones forward, an inch at a time. You don't want to go too far forward from these things because they can technically land right on the edge. Right on the edge, and you will walk just a little bit forward and get yourself killed. Now, as far as the actual... At one point in time, I was probably able to just run this without actually using any prism stones at all. Of course, that was a very long time ago. Can't do that anymore. Can't do that anymore. Some people will graciously have left their signs down here, but you can't go based solely on those. This does form a sort of V shape, in that it starts out kind of straight, curves in a little bit, then sharply hits like a really steep angle, and then jabs back in and it goes right down there. As you can probably see right there. You can see it doing it already with these helpful little signs. So, a grand adventure awaits us. I love life, I love it so much. Okay, in addition to losing that video, since I clear out my notes every single time that I finish a part, I ended up losing all the questions that people had asked in the process. So that's also something that I greatly enjoy. But I managed to just remember them. I remember them. And I actually went back across my old commentary and started listening to them until I got too annoyed by the fact that I was having to do this over again, at which point I said, fuck it, I'll just remember them, instead of writing down their names and whatnot. So you don't get your names read this time. Don't like it? You can go right where that prism stone went. To the bottom of nothing. I do like the sound that they make whenever they do that, though. Oh goodness, I can't talk too fast. I woke up fairly recently. I'm trying to get this done as quickly as possible because it has been too long since I've recorded this, since part 23 or whatever it was has gone up. And oh, that's what I was going to say. The other part of it is that since I was going to be fighting Seath, and I really don't like the Duke's Archives in the first place, that I had been actively trying to avoid it. Ooh. That I had been actively trying to avoid going here in the first place. So that's why I had been procrastinating in regards to this part anyways. As I've said before, it's not a difficult area. Let's just go all the way down here. And this is where it would have been. Blue titanite slab. Right on our little dead friend here. It is interesting that there is a human being. I guess it could be anything. It could be a witch. It could be a god. It could be a human being, I guess. But it is interesting. I'm going to assume it's a human. It is interesting that a human is down here, which sort of insinuates that I guess it could be a chosen undead, one of them. That just so happened to die here for some reason? What could he have fallen off of? He couldn't have fallen off of anything. So, I guess he somehow magically made his way over here and then just died. Or maybe Seath dropped him down here as like, ha ha, your butt face. And then he left and jacked off into a bowl and drank it or something. I don't know what he does. And he just so happened to die here. Who knows? Actually, it's just because corpses are item containers in this game. That's the end of it. But anyways, yeah, I was trying to procrastinate in regards to this episode just because I really don't like it. Not a hard area. Just irritating. Just irritating to navigate. Blue Titanite slab. Might as well read this. I got this earlier. This is the one. Yes, yes, yes. Blue Titanite slab for weapon reinforcement. Legendary slabs were the domain of the gods. And that's pretty much all it has to say about anything. I think all the slabs have generally the same exact item description. Legendary slabs, heirlooms of nameless planets. And that's the description of that. The only thing to really glean from that, I guess, legendary slabs are the domain of the gods. Why are legendary slabs the domain of the gods? I would assume because they are the only ones that have them. And they're probably the only ones that have them because they're the only ones that can actively mine for them. So at some point, this entire area may have been used whenever Andorlanda was first being constructed or something. And used in for development and, you know, mined out for that purpose or something. And, or maybe it was used exclusively for the Duke's archives. I have absolutely no idea. To backtrack, just, you know, follow the yellow brick road. Right on back to where you came from. And you will notice, like, the note out there. It is kind of wide in some places and very, very narrow in others. So even though it looks like it's pretty wide, just be careful. Be very, very careful because you don't want to have to do that again. And the other thing that I picked up was the corpse down there. A blue titanite chunk, I'm pretty sure that's what that was. And I left this guy because he is really not worth fighting. I'll go ahead and tell you, whenever you're jumping off this thing, if you jump on the right, even though it looks like it's... You can stand on either side of this thing and it's a really wide area. If you stand anywhere on the right side, right here, you will die. You will slide off into eternity and join that prism stone at the bottom. And you will die. You will be dead. If you stand on this side, it is slanted enough that if you drift too far down, you can also slip off and fall. So even though this thing is really huge, there is not much room for you to actually stand down there. So I would really not recommend fucking around with this thing too much. Especially trying to fight him. Because if you're going to fight him, if you use your shield, he's going to hit your shield and you're going to slide off the edge and die. And if you try to roll, then odds are you're probably going to miss at some point. And you'll either roll off the edge by slipping just barely off the seams of one of the vertices on the model of this thing. Or you'll just do it manually. Or you'll eat shit and take half damage because the guy hit so hard. So really what you're supposed to do, and this is kind of an oddity about Dark Souls combat, is, that's kind of one of the themes of Souls combat, is sometimes fights are not fair. So the game encourages you to find a way to cheese out the enemy, to kill them, in a way at which, you know, you have no risk to yourself. Which is exactly how real warfare actually works. Actual war is not fair. You want to find the simplest approach to killing someone, and do that, at no risk to yourself. Zenzu would be proud. Yes, yes, yes. So the first thing I'm going to do is... I'll just show you how to get back from this. I'm gonna drop down, and then run away! Run away! Because he will fuck your day up. Just run away, follow the notes, or the snowflakes. And is he actually gonna try? You gonna try to jump over everybody? Nah, it's just... He's got a nice toned ass, doesn't he? Look at that. Oh my god. You could, like, shave meat on that. Anyways, to get back, yes, there is another little invisible thing, and it links back to the thing that we just got through going down. Let's see if I can get myself killed going down this. This one is kind of a straight shot. Go up here, and it is pretty wide, this one. Then you kind of, I think, go over here. Or not. What do these say, anyways? Just here? Yeah, here. Lazy assholes. And let's make a risky thing right here. Okay, we're safe. Alright. Oh, I hate walking across these invisible things. So shitty. So shitty. Alright. And like this, if you drift just a little bit to the right side, you'll notice this has a little bitty incline to it, you will start to slip off the edge and you will fall and die. So even this is like this, run, 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 run. Ugh. I hate that. This is the reason why I hate the Crystal Caves. This is a little shitty area, just designed to try to get you killed in very cheap ways. Okay. So we're going to leave our little golden pea friend down there, and we're going to journey ahead. Alright. Oh, as I get a drink of Gatorade. I'm not feeling too well today. That's another part of it. I have not been feeling particularly great. I've been kind of drained and stuff since tax season. So I've just been very tired. Alright. But there's a few bits of note-keeping that I need to go over. Let's see. From the prior part, I think I've only made like 2 or 3 actual mistakes, straight-up mistakes, during the course of the playthrough. And I think 2 of those were just related to, like, elemental weapons or things no one cares about. The crystal weapons, I think, specifically. But this one, Silver Knights are indeed left in Orlando whenever you dispel the magic there. We'll be seeing that later, of course. I've heard some conflicting rumors about it. Some people say that not all of them are there. Some people say that all of them are. Some people say that the gargoyles are the ones that are gone. Some people say that they aren't. So we'll just find out later. And the reason why I was kind of iffy about all that is just because usually if I ever do dispel the illusion, which I rarely do, since it's not really, you know, why would you, other than just doing it for the hell of doing it? I guess there's maybe 1 or 2 reasons, but we'll get to that later. Then usually I would just leave. Like, the first thing I do is just leave. And let's see. One more little note-keeping thing. The Duke's Archives, I was pointing it out, the walls that go around the Duke's Archive, someone pointed out that the archive walls might have been constructed for the sole purpose of actually keeping things in, not keeping things out. Which is something that I actually was trying to lead up to whenever I was talking about it. But I got myself distracted by talking about him floating doors or whatever the hell it was that I was going on about. So I ended up getting myself confused. And just forgetting to talk about it. But yeah, that was one thing you can go with. Kind of the problem with that, though, is that Seath can fly. He can fly. Like, we're going to see that in a bit. You could probably, oh, he can't fly. He just kind of floats a little bit. Shut up. He can fly. God's sakes. He doesn't have any legs. Bitch ain't got no legs. So he you know, he's got to have something. And he flies. He flies just a little bit. Fucking clam. Acting like it's a goddamn first-person shooter. Strafing to one side. Get out of here, clammy. These are mad-eating shells, by the way. I'm just going to clear a few of these out while we're talking. But the problem with that is that, yeah, Seath can just fly over the walls. So the idea that they were there to imprison him doesn't really make a lot of sense. But that was something I did want to go over, that possibility. Because it is, you know, possible that the walls were constructed to make the gods feel safer about Seath being in there. Even though it doesn't really make any sense of actually trying to trap him inside. So, it may be hinting to the idea that even though Gwen made him a duke, and this is shooting beyond the range, and it's still hitting him, but it does no damage because it's so far away. You can see the little explosion when it hits his shell. But whenever you shatter his... Oh, I thought he did. Whenever you shatter his poise, usually he'll come running. Come on, sweetie. Come on. That's a good boy. Who's a good boy? Who wants to be murdered? Who wants to be murdered? You do. Yes. Now we're going to encounter these man-eating shells here and all the way down in Ash Lake. So wonder you to yourself, why exactly are they down here? And yeah, the only logic I can really make of it is that Seath brought them up here as part of his experiments or something. Because as we're going to learn here in a second, the little clam buddies down here. Let's go ahead and get rid of my prisoners. These guys actually are related to the Greylands down there, and more specifically related to things like stonification, cursing, things like that. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. But first, I want to clear out these guys. Let's take a look at their moveset a little bit. Look at their tiny, adorable little legs, all 5 of them. I love that little sissy little kick. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, they mainly just do this, which is kind of irritating. Sometimes they'll do 1, sometimes they'll do 2, so just be safe whenever you're attacking them. And if you use a shield, basically, you don't have to worry about anything at all, because as we've been over... I love that kick. I think actually if you get hit by that, you might get launched even through the shield. I don't think so, though. But as we've gone over before, shield's kind of a problem in all these Souls games. Miyazaki sought to resolve this by making everything very dodge-centric, which introduced a whole new set of problems. But that's a subject for another day. No. Naughty clam. Such a bad boy. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at their insides. As you'll notice in here, there are a whole bunch of skulls. Lovely little skulls that have been melted down almost into pearls, because that's their theme. They're big clam monsters, so they make pearls. What do they make pearls out of? Human skulls. Yay, good for them. And whenever you kill these guys, it looks like they're not dropping anything, but it drops below their corpse, and since their corpse kind of conceals everything, then they may have something for us. I really hope they do. Okay, alright, here's one. They drop one of two things. One of them is Twinkling Titanite. This used to be prime farming grounds for Twinkling Titanite before the patches introduced the ability to buy them. And they drop one more thing. Purging Stones! Yay! I timed it perfectly. I'm so good at my job. Hey, this isn't even my job. I don't even make money off YouTube. I'm doing this for free, by the way. If you're complaining, oh, he makes money off Patreon and YouTube, I don't. Because there are no ads on any of my YouTube videos, as you probably have noticed. Unless you're a dirty, filthy cheater that uses ad block, then you wouldn't notice, would you? I love that because it's the people that actually say that are the ones that you know are using ad block anyways. So what are they complaining about whenever they're not even watching the ads? Okay, what the hell did I just... Oh, yeah, sorry, Purging Stones. Alright, kind of a little bit to talk about in regards to this. But they do drop Purging Stones. And you notice the icon of the Purging Stone is, in fact, a little skull. It's a little skull contained in stone. And so this is where they come from, basically. Or maybe it's one of two possible sources. Purging Stone, I think I've already covered this, but we'll go over it one more time. Ash-colored stone encasing a skull. Secret treasure. It's a secret. Of Arster, the Earl of Kareem. Reduces curse buildup, blah blah blah. Humans are helpless against curses. We have no defense against curses. And can only redirect their influence. So if we get a curse, the only thing that we can do is get rid of them by redirecting them into something else. The Purging Stone does not dispel curses, but receives them as a surrogate. The stone itself was once a person or some other being. So, not the skull inside the stone was once a person, but the stone itself is a person. So, the clams, much like all the other things that are down inside of the Greylands, have a lot of influence in regards to turning things into stone, and stone, as we know, is sort of related to the idea of permanence, this state of existing but not existing at all. Like, it's a form of immortality, but it's a form of immortality in which you don't really exist exactly. Because like these stone dragons, the whole idea with them is that, yeah, the dragons were around, but, you know, they didn't do anything. Nothing ever happened. There was no culture, there was no advancement, there was no science. Because they were just like stones. They just existed, and that's all they did. Alright. But you remember whenever we were talking about bonfires and we were talking about homeward bones, the idea is that you have this bone, and you put it in the fire, or you use it, or whatever, and the Estus can actually flow into it, and that's where the fire is coming from. Like whenever you go to a bonfire and you sit down, you notice it has a sword, and it has little corpsey piles in there too. And the reason for that is it's inferring that that used to be an undead. It's a human being. And the fire, the Estus, is actually coursing into their body. And that's where we're, you know, that's how it's able to flow up. And the source that's channeling it is the Firekeeper herself. Okay, and this sort of works the same way. That the Purging Stone is actually utilizing the corpse, the skull, or bones, whatever, that are inside of these stones to be able to channel the curses away. Okay, a lot more to go over in regards to this, actually, because this shit's going to get very complicated as far as how exactly this works. And we have one little clam chan over here. Let's do that first. I can't really get close enough just yet, but whenever we get over to these statues over here, You will notice that even though they are stone, they almost look like they're made of crystals. They're very jagged and kind of shardy looking. We were down in the depths earlier, and the the basilisk down there also turned people to stone, remember? And it does the same thing. It makes these statues that are very kind of crystalline looking, even though they're made entirely out of stone. So that's sort of a visual indication that perhaps the crystal effect that Seath has going on is related in some ways to the stone effect that happens naturally from other beings. Let's go ahead and kill him. And once Seath actually dies, once we get to that part, I love the sound that they make too. Kind of like, they'd be great tap dancers. Just imagine tiny little tap dancer shoes on him. Oh, these things are so kawaii. So kawaii indeed. Anyways, oh, don't you do that right as a... Oh, you little bastard, you stun-locked me. Little bastard. Okay. One of the things that I've kind of gotten reused to is in Bloodborne the health... Ah, damn it. Yep. In Bloodborne, the health bar is very, very tiny. So I'm used to the idea of, if you get hit at all, then you're going to... Oh, that's right. Wow, I forgot about that. If you get hit at all, then you're going to almost die. You know, one hit. But I always forget that, in Dark Souls, even though the health bar looks way bigger, it's kind of still the same thing. If you take like 4 hits or something, you're still gonna die. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get back here. And it actually gives me a chance to talk about this anyways. The idea of the stone effect being kind of similar to the crystal effect. So you would think that if Seath is studying the stone scales, or he's studying the way that stone works in this universe, then he must obviously, you know, have found some correlation between this crystal effect that's linked to magic and the soul as... Where does it say that anyways? It is the spells that we're going to get later in this episode. But the crystal effect is linked with the soul. It is a magic effect after all, and magic is always purportedly linked to the soul itself. But you'll notice whenever we kill Seath eventually, instead of spraying out blood like most things will do, he instead sprays out sort of a crystal effect. Almost like his entire body, his blood, was made out of crystals in the first place. So, whereas these stone dragons had outside, their skin was made out of stone, it seems more like the inside of Seath's body was made of stone. Like he had himself reversed for some reason. Like his outside was flesh, but his inside was quote-unquote stone. And in his case, since that stone effect is related to the soul, in this case, he has sort of that crystal blood going on. Or that's something I'm surmising, by the way. This is not, like, straight-up canon. I'm just kind of theorizing here. Whereas it was the other way around for the stone dragons, that they had the stone outsides that allowed them to be immortal, but a neutral, non-existent soul on the inside. If that makes any sense. And might talk a little bit more about that once we actually get to the boss fight itself. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to talk about that? No. Okay, there are a few questions that people had asked. Why would Seath know that lightning hurts? Well, first of all, let me say this. Whenever we're talking about Seath and whatnot, let's... Yeah, okay. Whenever we're talking about Seath... Let's just go ahead and do this. Whenever we're talking about Seath, let's keep in mind, again, this Eastern versus Western storytelling. Usually the comments of these videos are absolutely rife with people talking about the little minutiae, the details of how things work and whatnot. You know, how did Seath lose his scales? How does Seath know that lightning hurts them? You know, all these things like that. Sort of Western rationalizations. Which I don't blame people for, because I'm kind of a mix of those two. In which I'm a little bit more concerned about the thematics of things, but at the same time, it really bothers me whenever the logic behind it doesn't work, or doesn't make any sense, just to try to support the nonsense that is supporting the framework for the theme of the story that's going on. And I have a shit ton of arrows, so I really don't mind doing this. It does reduce the stability on your bow, though. So whenever we're talking about that sort of thing, just keep that in mind. That maybe not necessarily there's anything going on in regards to how it works or it doesn't. He just knew. It could be that if all the other dragons were just kind of just dumb stone things, and Seath was the only one that actually had any cognizance about him, then maybe it would make sense that he would be the only one that actually really understood how everything was working. And maybe it was that he had been investigating for quite some time since his birth. That doesn't make any sense. That he'd been investigating for quite some... That kind of looks like he's nesting. Weird. That maybe he had been investigating for quite some time and had already kind of come up with a few theories, and maybe one of them was lightning. Or maybe he was flying around one day being a stone dragon. He got struck by lightning, which doesn't make any sense because how could there be a storm whenever nothing actually ever happens? It doesn't make any sense. Don't worry about it. Stop asking perfectly legitimate questions. And maybe he just so happened to be flying around and it's like, oh, lightning hurts. Oh, I'm naked now. Oh, this sucks. But I kind of doubt that. But yeah, he just knows because Eastern storytelling. Stop worrying about it. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but let's just work with it, okay? Alright, and there's one more thing. Why does Seath have no scales, of course? We've been over this. It doesn't make any sense. There's really not a huge amount of logic to it. I think fire does quite a bit of damage to these guys. Yeah. Yeah, Phil. Now he's tap dancing in hell! So long, sweetie. Alright, so we're to the Seath boss fight. But as far as why he has no scales, it's never explained. If you think about it, there's only two things in the entire Dark Souls universe, during the Age of Ancients, the Age of Dragons, the Age of Grey, whatever you want to call it, that were different about anything. And one is the First Flame, and the other seems to be Seath. Because like the pygmies and all the little animal things, like the shells here sort of have a crystalline out exterior as well. So maybe, and also since they are related to curses, maybe they also had something to do with it. Like maybe there's some relationship between the nature of the soul and, you know, flesh and whatnot. And kind of the interesting thing about all the gray beings is that they do seem to have this sort of balance going on with them. Like it always seems to result in them being mindless for the most part. Even though they seem to be alive or something, I don't know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I would have to sit down like for an hour and try to figure out some sort of logic to all this, whenever there really isn't much logic. What the hell was I saying? But just the idea that everything sort of has that balance, and that the only two things that were really overly different were Seath, since he did seem to have some sort of cognizance, and the First Flame itself. And the First Flame just seems to appear out of nothing, and Seath also seems to just sort of appear out of nothing. So maybe there's some sort of relationship between the two, or maybe there's some sort of... I know Dark Souls 2 is there, but I kind of consider it to be fan fiction. I don't know what Miyazaki would have done if he had actually made the sequel himself. Maybe it would have been that there actually was some sort of greater relationship between everything that was actually going on that actually lasted for a far greater amount of time that we were aware of that we never learned about. Who knows? I don't know. But one last thing about the Purging Stones. Again, just keep in mind how exactly stone works in relationship to curses and whatnot. Again, we've been over this, how Nito has sort of a vague relationship with cursing, and all the creatures of the Greylands are related to cursing, and what exactly is cursing in the first place? It seems to be this reduction into, you know, a sedentary state. Like human beings that are not, like, you're undead. If you get cursed, you reappear at a bonfire because you're undead. Whereas a normal human being, if they get cursed, will just turn to stone and they just remain stone for the rest of eternity. Unless it's Dark Souls 2 and they because they don't seem to realize this. And you'll notice the little crystallization effect of, like, this guy right here. See how it's sort of a crystal look to it? So whenever you get turned to stone, you sort of just become immortal, but unable to move, unable to do anything. You just exist. Just like everything did in the Greylands. So that's kind of effectively what cursing is. you're being reduced to that state. You're being equalized, if I'll say it that way. So keep that in mind, and also keep in mind, of course, the whole idea with Seath being crystal blood nonsense, whatnot. And let's see, just before we even begin with this boss fight, a few things to note. Seath, of course, is blind. He is not deaf, but we do have the slumbering dragon crest ring on. So in theory, he should not be able to sense us at all, because he can't see me, and I don't make any noise unless, say, I attack. So in theory, he shouldn't be able to see me, but he totally can, because I guess the developers were like, fuck you for thinking of a way around this. And they allow him to cheat, and he distracts you anyways. The primordial crystal over there is what is preventing him from dying outright. We need to destroy that, or what I'm going to do is allow him to destroy himself, because he's a big fat dummy. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the boss fight. That, and whenever he breathes, he curses people. Alright, let's get going. Whee! No, come on. No. Oh, damn it. Ruined it. Fuck. You're gonna pay for that, Seath. Wondering, oh, it's a crystal. How much sense does that crystal make? None. And here he comes, flying, with his no legs. Oh, Seath, you came here to get an ass kicking. Bitch ain't got no eyes, ain't got no legs. Pale as shit, and he gonna die. His big dumb butterfly wings. Usually whenever you start the fight out and you're wearing the rings, the ring of fog especially has no point. Usually he'll turn around because he can't figure out where exactly you are, and then the scripting kicks in and he tracks you anyways. Alright. I'm going to use his dumb breath attack. And he's using it right where I was. So he's going to kill himself like a big idiot. And he stuns pretty long. Ah, shit. He does stun for quite some... Damn it. He stuns for quite some time whenever he actually breaks that crystal for the first time. So that's the best time to actually try to get his tail, which I need to do. I hate getting his tail. But otherwise, you end up having to do this. Running around, trying to hit it. And he always turns. You can maybe get 2 hits in. But otherwise, you just have to keep baiting his attack, running around his gigantic-ass little wiggly leg things to get to his tail, which may or may not be clipping into the wall. And you have to hit the... God damn it. And you do have to hit the tip end of his tail, not like the base of it. It's very precise, very irritating. Stop turning! Bait out his breath attack. Getting the turn. This is the worst part of this fight for me. Like, the actual fight is not that bad. Come on! Hurry up and break! Fuck's sake. This is his little crystal effect thing. If you get hit by this, you will build up curse, and you will turn to stone, like our spiny friend here. And I have before actually killed him trying to get his tail, so if his tail does not break off, I'll just have to quit the fucking fight. There we go! For God's sakes. And somehow, whenever we cut off his tail, we get a sword complete with hilt, which makes no sense. And he throws a big baby fit because he doesn't like having appendages cut off. What a baby. Alright, let's go ahead and finish him off. A couple more hits. I wonder what R2 does to him. Ooh, ow. Hurt. That wasn't very nice, Seath. Let's go ahead and dispatch you. Get out of here! How's it feel, Seath? To be a bitch. And he does kind of dissipate in a little whirlwind of flaky soul nuggets. I don't know, it's gross, what I'm saying. Alright, well, we get a Bequeath Lord Soul Shard and 1 humanity. And I get a Gatorade. Oh, Lord. The reason why I had a save point kind of right before this is because during the last recording I had to stop and feed our little kitten that we're bottle feeding. Because the mother is too lazy to actually do anything about it herself. Big Spiny Stonemen. Big Spiny Stonemen. Well, some of them I think are actually just automatically generated, but most of these should be players. And you can, of course, destroy them. Ha, ha. Does it actually leave, like, their heads and stuff? Yeah, of course it would, what am I saying? Yeah, there's his head. There's his penis. Okay. But yeah, that does shatter them, and they were stone and stone no more, blah, blah, blah. Alright, but we'll see that the inside of his body is meat. Although it kind of looks like his bones may have been stone. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? I mean, you could... It's not really... I guess whenever you... No, I take that back. Whenever you do cut someone open, they do sort of have white bones. Although there is sort of a lattice that... I'm probably sharing too much information. You guys are probably wondering about this. But the inside of his little tail here, it does sort of look like stone. It kind of almost looks like tree bark in a way. I don't know. So maybe that's a hint that... Actually, his problem was that he sort of had everything topsy-turvy. The reason why he was not naturally immortal may have been because his insides were switched with his outsides. And that's as far as I want to take that. And we'll learn a little bit more about all that in a bit once we actually go back up to Logan. As far as why his outside has like crystal shit on it, I kind of chalk that up to it's a result of his experimentation. Although, of course, from the opening CG, keep in mind, you know, we can see stuff like he has no eyes and he has no legs and so on. His design hasn't really changed. Although I think he didn't really have any crystal shit on him at the time during the opening CG. Although it's been a while since I've looked that close at it. You guys can go back and check. So I'm pretty sure that this is sort of a recent development with him. I wonder how delicious he would be. I wonder if he would mind if I just ate part of his tail. Like in Dragon Ball Z, whenever Gohan is chasing that poor T-Rex around and eating him slowly over time. Poor thing. Okay, anyways. That's enough of that. Let's light this bonfire and get the hell out of here. And I've already gone over the notes. Alright, so I only have one more thing I have left to do. Actually, let's first go back to Firelink and have a talk with Logan's little butt pal. And not being homophobic, I really just love the term, like, butt buddy and butt pal. It's just funny to me. Alright, but first let's talk to Sigmar's daughter to get her out of the way.
Oh, hello again. River's managing quite well, aren't you?
Well, you
I
are.
haven't found my father yet. Have you seen him?
It's unusual that we didn't share this information with her whenever we first met her. So she comes back, tracking him. I don't even know how she's tracking him. How do we even help her if we didn't tell her where he was in the first place? Like, we met her, she's like, have you seen my father? He looks just like me. And we say, yeah. And then, is that all we said to her? And she's just like, oh, so you have seen him. Alright. And then she just leaves and searches the rest of the planet with the knowledge that, hey, he's probably somewhere. Anyways, now we're actually going to tell her where we last saw him, which is, Blight Town. Although, that's why I said that the events seem kind of mixed up. Because the next place we're going to actually meet him, it's not going to be Blight Town. It's not going to be Ash Lake or anything like that. It's going to be, sort of the Witch of Izalith's area. So, us sending her down here doesn't really make a lot of sense. But don't worry about it. Stop asking perfectly legitimate questions.
Then I must be off. I'm sorry he's caused you trouble. He has a knack for that. If it just stay put.
So, her father is very troublesome, always getting into shit. She's tracking him down for reasons we don't know why just yet. And again, she has an adorable voice.
Really? Then I must be off. I'm sorry he's caused you trouble.
So adorable. Such a cute voice. Unfortunately, the inside of her helmet, she does not look particularly cute herself. I wonder if I'm gonna... I think it's mainly just because she has this, the pulled back hairstyle that I abhor in women. I know it's really comfortable compared to having a bunch of tangled hair all over the place. Oh, but it does bug me. Maybe I'll show her face. God, I hate doing that because it requires editing, but yeah, maybe I'll do that. Anyways, enough of that. Enough of her face. Let's talk to the ass face over here. Haircut number 2.
Oh, there you are. Just so you know, Master Logan has left on his own again. It seems that he is still determined to find the famed regal archives in Anor Londo. I intend to search for him. Only before I leave, there is one thing I wish to do. You see, Master Logan has left most of his books. With them, I could teach you Logan sorcery. You have done much to assist me. Before I leave on this journey, I will teach you all that Logan has to share.
Yeah. Sure you will, buddy. So once we actually buy out his inventory, we'll pretty much be done with him, I guess. But Logan again has left him. Logan does not give two shits about our suspicious friend in black right here, who may or may not be an assassin, who may or may not be a spook, or who may or may not have killed a spook and taken his clothing for some bizarre reason. But don't worry about that, don't worry about that. Logan has officially abandoned him because he's just a big dumb idiot with silly hair.
Oh, hello. Then let us begin. As promised, I shall bequeath Master Logan's sorcery to you.
Yeah, just bequeath it all over my face. Alright. But it has a couple things left that I actually already even have. Oh, but I want to buy those because it seems like it takes 100,000 souls to buy all of Logan's shit to get him to go crazy. Buying everyone's shit makes people go crazy in this universe.
Goodbye then. Do stay safe.
And don't worry about me, I'm always safe. I always wear protection. So, let's go back to the Duke's archives, buy all Logan's dumbass shit, then we'll finally be done with that. And I'll probably end up having to use it. I might have to stop and farm a little bit just to be able to get everything up and going in regards to that. So let's run over here. I remember the room that I said all the books were scattered about, because that's where Logan's going to show up. Well, that's where he is. Scattering about books that have already been scattered. Hello, Logan. And I'll worry about that in a bit.
Hello there. I was expecting you. This place is truly magnificent, more than expected. As promised, I shall share the new sorceries with you, and the secret of Seath's immortality.
Oh, you mean the crystal that I broke? Or actually, he broke it because he's an idiot. You mean that? Is that the secret to Seath's immortality? Tell me more.
The secret of Seath's immortality. If you are 40 and were imprisoned, you must know that Seath is a true undead, different from ourselves. His wounds close promptly, and no mortal blow affects him, granting true insulation from death. His wounds close
And that's a bug, he
promptly,
repeats
and
the
no
same
mortal
audio
blow
twice,
affects him,
if you're wondering.
granting true insulation from death. It is an effect of the primordial crystal, a sacred treasure pillaged by Seath when he turned upon the ancient dragons. So only
How do you know that?
destroying the primordial crystal can you so much as scratch his hide. And it so happens the primordial crystal
How do you know that?
is in the inner garden of these very archives, the Crystal Forest.
How do you know that? I asked you a question. Hat on the mouth face. How do you know that? Okay, so he just has intrinsic knowledge for no good reason. Maybe he found it in one of the books or something. It's actually not in the Crystal Forest, as he says, I guess. It's in the Crystal Caves. So maybe at one point it used to be in that little area that we were in the first place, and Seath decided, you know what, fuck that, I'm gonna drill a hole deep into the earth. And I'll keep it there, because I'm paranoid about losing my immortality. But that was the thing that was keeping him alive. One of the more weird things that he says is that Seath, and this is where we get this information, so Logan, in theory, could be wrong, I guess, but Seath pillaged it from the other dragons. So these stone dragons that really do nothing except just exist because they're made of stone, for some reason had a crystal with them that made us double immortal for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. Why would they have this? Why would the dragons have a crystal that makes them immortal whenever they're already immortal? Because they have stone scales. Where did they find it? Did they make it? Nothing ever happened. Like, that's the whole theme with this whole game. Nothing ever happened during that time. So they couldn't have made it. They had to have just found it. Or maybe it was just in their possession since forever. Or again, maybe the entire backstory, the opening cinematic story, is actually kind of more or less bullshit in the first place. Oh, who knows? Who knows? We've been over this so many times. But yeah, that's the idea that whenever Seath... Maybe that's the reason why that Seath betrayed his own kind in the first place. Like, I'm sure that part of it was he despised them for having what he could not have, but maybe he wanted the crystal and the other dragons for whatever reason, because he was a bitch, I guess, would not let him have it. They wouldn't rub it all over his body and whatnot. I don't know. But also it's interesting that the crystal was down there, but it still affected him up here. Like, whenever we first encountered him, he was, quote-unquote, as Logan refers to it, true undead. He was a true undead because of the crystal that was down there. So it does seem to have some sort of link to Seath, which is very unusual. Maybe the reason why it has a link to Seath is because Seath at some point used that crystal magic to turn his blood crystal, or maybe it was always like that, or he covered his body with crystal and that gave him a link to it or something. Who knows, yeah. What exactly is the primordial crystal? It's just a crystal that's very old, it's primordial. What does it do? It makes Seath immortal. It serves as a gameplay device. What does it actually do in terms of the game universe? I don't know. It does something. Don't worry about it. Just don't fucking worry about it. It does something or other. So, it makes no sense, but, you know, it's Miyazaki for you. Sometimes he'll throw things in there because of gameplay, or he'll just kind of have them there. Really, the gist of it, and one of the reasons why I really don't like the Deuce Archives, is because Seath really has no place being in the story. He's just here because Seath the Dragon and Moonlight Greatsword. And that's it. That's the reason why that he's here. It's because they desperately wanted to make another reference to prior games, the Kingsfield games in this case. So he's just here. And that's it. So, Seath kind of ends up fudging a lot of the lore in that regards. One of the reasons why I really don't particularly care for him. That, and he's a fucking dragon. Although I will give them credit for designing a dragon that wasn't just a stereotypical one. I like the Gaping Dragon because the Gaping Dragon isn't really a dragon, it's just a big monster thing. Seath, at least, is weird looking, so I'll give him that, but he's still a dragon. Fuck him for being unimaginative. But at least he's blind. He was blind, so he couldn't actually see how stupid looking he actually was. Alright, anything else, Logan?
The tomes stored in these archives are truly magnificent.
Truly!
A great pool of knowledge. The fruits of superior wisdom and an unquenchable desire for the truth. Some would say Seath had an unsound fixation. But his work is a beautiful, invaluable resource. All progress demands sacrifice. And I certainly bear no antipathy for that wonderful, scaleless piece.
So Logan is really infatuated with Seath. He's written / fanfiction of Seath and whatnot. Seath was so wise, in fact, that he destroyed his own crystal. I didn't do anything. I was just standing there. I didn't even want to fight him. I was just like... I didn't even make a noise. I didn't even say hello. I just showed up, like, well, there's a crystal there. And then Seath showed up and broke his own crystal. So I had to cut off his tail and eat it. That's just how things go. It's just how things go. And I will also point out, I forgot to mention this, but he referred to Seath as being a true undead. Like, what makes us undead? The Dark Soul. The Dark Soul makes us undead because, as we've kind of been over before, the idea is that the Dark Soul exists sort of as a polarizing effect to the Light Soul. The idea of, you know, we've been over this before, but the gist of it is that the Dark Soul is not allowing us to die. It's sort of almost has that same stone effect that we've gone over in this episode in some ways. So that is not a true undeath, and it's apparently not a true undeath because in order for it to work, we have to die. But Seath's works in that he doesn't have to die for it to trigger. The crystal just regenerates his health over and over again. Which would mean that it isn't undeath, it's undamage. So Logan, again, is wrong because he's a big dumb idiot that is more concerned about putting his penis in Seath's tail hole, now that he has one. And, I guess that's the gist of it. But it is interesting that he refers to it as being true undeath, which sort of insinuates that there is sort of a balance going on. The Stone Dragons had true immortality, whereas Seath has true undeath, just because of that crystal. So, something to chew on in regards to that, as we've been over before. And now that we've been over that enough, and now that I've talked long enough, I'm sure that this has driven Logan to absolute madness. Let's see what he has to say now. That goes on for a laughably long amount of time, don't you think? But you can hear him say a few words in all that gibberish. He's basically just talking about Seath and the undead curse. Alright, but we can purchase bullshit from him. Oh, I'm going to have to pop a couple souls to be able to get everything. Yes, we have. We've been over this, Logan. We've been over this. So let's go down here and pop up a couple of these things, if I can find them. Oh, I have 2 of them. I'm not gonna equip them. I'll just... No, don't use that. Come on. Alright, once we have this, once we have used up all of his shit, he'll finally go insane. And then we can finally be rid of him. Alright. And damn it. I forgot to use that Firekeeper soul while I was down there. Oh, well, I'll do that later. Alright, this should, in theory, be enough.
Hello there. You really are very diligent. Oh, I understand. We are in the midst of a revolution.
So, yeah, even whenever he's kind of sane, he's mostly insane at this point. So let's buy all his stupid, worthless bullshit that I will never actually... Ah, shit, I should have actually read the damn things. It doesn't matter. What was it? Soul Spear and Crystal Souling. You, me both, buddy. You, me both.
Come again. The knowledge here is limitless. I would absorb it, then share it with you.
Yes, in the form of incoherent ramblings, yes.
Who are you? Stay clear of my work. Curses upon you. How dare you disturb me?
Ooh, curses upon us, like stone curses? Or maybe just generic curses, probably just generic curses. So now that we have exhausted all of his inventory, he goes batshit crazy.
Who are you?
Logan want brain. Alright. So let's go back here. And we finally get that done. Should I go through that way? I'll do it the hard way, I guess. Alright, but there's a few item descriptions to go over. Yay! I can hear all the children cheering. Item descriptions, yes. Most of these are going to be fairly boring, though. Let's see. Crystal Soul Spear. What was the other one that probably Crystal Magic Weapon, if I had to guess. Yeah, sorcery boosted by the knowledge Logan acquired at the Regal Archives, blah blah blah, whatever. Logan's trials were successful, and the crystal medium facilitated a stronger bond between weapon and soul. So, crystal is acting as a medium between physicality and the soul itself. Something to keep in mind. Crystal Soul Spear, sorcery, blah blah blah. These pale magic spears, sharpened through crystallization, are on par with the armaments of the ancient lords. Nothing really special about that. It sort of is alluding to the Sun Spear that we probably won't even get in this playthrough because it's a New Game Plus item. But it's basically just saying that this is just as powerful as that happens to be. And here's one of the most cheap spells in the game. I really hate things like this. Skills like this epitomize why exactly I don't like mages. Because how this works is you wave your little catalyst in the air, and then these little soul masses will appear above your head. And if anyone comes near you, they just automatically fire and do a massive amount of damage to them. You can roll through them, although if you have bad networking like I do, it becomes a big problem because even if you know the offline timing, then you will roll through it, and then they just won't do anything. And then like a second later, they'll suddenly decide, while you're like circling behind his back or something, oh, we'll fire now! And then you take massive damage and die, even though you didn't deserve it at all. Bad networking. And just the fact that it's something that you don't actually have to control yourself. You just use it, and then just walk around with high damage floating above your head. And you can just go AFK. You can go AFK and have someone walk up and kill themselves by walking into you. This is fucking stupid. I hate spells like this. Spells in general really don't... Just Conan the Barbarian. Mages are good for nothing. You're a bad person. If you're a mage, you are a bad person. Alright. Fire filthy homing crystal soul masses. The mysteries of souls, crystals, and the sorceries are deeply intertwined. It's a shame that all the other ones... All the other sorceries just, hey, did you hear about Vinheim? Vinheim Dragon School, Vinheim Dragon School, Vinheim Dragon School. So you end up not really learning anything from them because, again, magic users are so fucking shitty that even their descriptions are worth absolutely nothing. Alright, let's go find Logan. He probably should be gone. I might have to rest at the... I might actually have to completely zone out in order to get him to switch over. Which I guess will give us a chance to go over... Yeah, he's still here. Still being crazy, Logan. Still being crazy. Yeah, still being crazy. Curses upon me. Curses upon your butt as well. Alright, let's get out of here. And there's a couple more item descriptions I need to go over. Don't let me forget. It's going to be the soul that Seath gave us. And, what was the other one? What was the other one? There was one more that I needed to read off. What that was? Oh, the Moonlight Greatsword. That's what it was. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that while I'm thinking about it. The Greatsword's probably going to be something a little bit more that I'm going to forget, so let's go to that one first, if I can find it. People like to use this in PvP as a ganking tool. Like, even if they don't meet the requirements for it exactly, let's just go ahead and equip the damn thing. If I can... God damn it. It's probably up there with the... I'm thinking of it as being a sorcery item. So there it is. Alright, God's sakes. This sword, one of the rare dragon weapons, which is a weird way of phrasing it. Almost like there's more than one of the Moonlight Greatsword or something. Came from the tale of Seath the Scaleless, the pale white dragon who betrayed his own. Seath is the grandfather, not the father of sorcery, but the grandfather of sorcery, which to me sort of insinuates that he was the one that sort of popularized the idea amongst humans, and then one of the humans, probably someone in New Londo or something, or maybe even referencing the Witch of Izalith for all I know. Maybe Seath originally inspired the idea of sorceries in the Witch of Izalith, and that's how she got started or something, who knows. But Seath is the grandfather of sorcery, and this sword is imbued with his magic, which shall be unleashed as a wave of moonlight. What else in the game references moonlight? The only thing I can think of is Gwendolyn, which is pretty strange. So maybe there's a link between Seath and Gwendolyn. I don't know, maybe Seath had sex with Gwen, and Gwendolyn is actually their baby. Maybe that's what it is, I don't know. Or maybe that's fucking stupid. I don't know. Let's go ahead and use this stupid thing briefly. R1, then R2. This is the reason why people use it. They use that in order to use a long-range attack that will knock people off ledges and stuff like that. It's pretty much its only real use. Uses durability, it's just one of those things. R1, and I think kind of does the same thing, yeah. So yeah, that's just what it does. Fascinating. Another cowardly weapon used by magic users. Another cowardly weapon. Alright, let's run down here, and Siegelin is now gone. And we're going to avoid talking to Crestfallen over there for the time being. I need to go over here and get this.
That you have agreed to link the fire. I thank you sincerely. Finally, the curse of the undead will be lifted. And I can die human. I am powerless, but I will do all that I can. Please, save us all. Please.
Alright, come on, get it out of. She says that anytime that you put down the Lord Vessel, she kind of assumes that you're siding with Frampt for some reason. But she is... I don't even know if she actually understands what's going to happen to me if I do side with Frampt completely. But, the important thing to lift out of that dialogue, other than her characterization of she wants to die, and she believes that if you rekindle the first flame, then that will dispel the undead curse, because it gives more power to the Age of Fire and the gods once more, and that will kind of... The reason why the undead curse is happening in the first place is because the Age of Fire is weakening, and I've been over this before, I'm not going to go in a whole other thing on that once again, but that's the idea. And if we restore things to how they were during the Age of the Gods, then that will, in theory, dispel the undead curse as well. Which is kind of interesting. That is interesting, but of course, hold on before I get sidetracked. Anastasia, yeah, she wants to die. That's just it. As far as her characterization goes, you can see why she would want to die. She's had her tongue cut out, she's had her legs broken. She blames herself, she says that she's not worthy. So as far as her alliance with her alignment with the Church of Thurland and things like that, which we assume that she's from, it's just that. That's the whole idea. You know, she blames herself. That's her character. And that will be the last time that we ever actually... I'm pretty sure. I think I said that before incorrectly. I knew that this was coming, but I just completely forgot about it whenever I was speaking. But that's the idea with her. And again, she is a firekeeper, and that's just her characterization. She is pure because she is a firekeeper. At the same time, she also blames herself, so blah, 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 blah. That's her character. If you like... that's pretty interesting. I kind of wish that we had more from her, so that is kind of disappointing. Anyways, as far as the undead curse being dispelled, it is interesting that she says that, because it implies that whenever Gwen linked the first flame, then the undead curse was around as well, which means that the undead curse has already been dispelled one time. And only one time, because, you know, Gwen has been around for so long. Unless, yeah, I know, just make up your own thing, whatever, just don't bother me about it. But I'm looking at the inside of her walls. You can see sort of the outline of the model inside of there. Kind of weird. But it does insinuate that there has been an undead curse that's been dispelled once before, which is interesting because if firekeepers can then die once the undead curse is dispelled, that could be an explanation for why some bonfires existed but didn't have firekeepers. Or, for example, and why we find some firekeeper souls just lying around, because in the very distant past, maybe the undead curse was dispelled, and these firekeepers wandered off into completely unrelated areas, and then they died, and that's where they left. And the ones that we are finding are actually really, really ancient, like 1,000 years ago ancient. And it would also explain the... go ahead and leave her, I guess. Oh, wait, have I even done this? I forgot about this. Okay, yeah. And that's it for that. Alright. And, it would explain, the Dark Moon Nidus. You know, we've sort of... it's been implied that she was not really a firekeeper. She's just taken on that role. So maybe that's what happened to the original firekeeper of Anor Londo. That maybe once the flame was kindled, that firekeeper no longer had a purpose, and, you know, went about their business and died at some point. And then once the undead curse started back up again, then, hey, there's a bonfire right here. And that's why Gwendolyn brought the Dark Moon Nidus on board to take care of it. So that's the best amount of logic that I can make out of that. Lord. Another thing to point out in regards to that, I'm just remembering these off the top of my head, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm kind of just going around in circles. It is interesting that people like the Fair Lady would exist then, because the Fair Lady has been around for a long time. And obviously, for God's sakes, the Chaos Flame. The Chaos Flame has been around before Gwen actually lit the first flame again. Because remember, they went over there to fight the Witch of Izalith, Quela, whatever you want to call her, and they lost. And then that's when Gwen decided to rekindle the first flame, remember? Okay, so that means that the Fair Lady and her sister were spider people before all of this happened, which means that she could not have been a firekeeper at that point in history. Nah, not a whole lot, not a huge revelation or anything right there, but it is interesting from a timeline perspective. Wow, what a big miss. Ow! Shot me in my face! So that's all that. Wow! And I still need to look at the description of that soul. Where do I need to go? No, don't start. Oh, you little bastard. Bloodborne has given me some bad habits. Let's switch to something else. Alright, come here, sweetie. Oh, it's just gonna fuck off. Okay, that'll work for me. Alright, but we're gonna take our little lift up here and go visit Logan Chan. That'll be that. In the meantime, let's take a look at the Queeth Lord's Soul Shard of Seath the Scaleless. Soul of the Albino Seath the Scaleless, a fragment of a Lord Soul discovered at the dawn of the Age of Fire. Seath allied with Lord Gwyn and turned upon the dragons, and for this he was awarded dukedom, embraced by the royalty, and given a fragment of a great soul. Although just a piece, it will still satiate the Lord Vessel. It is interesting that the Lord Vessel takes 4 souls in order to open up the pathway to the kiln of the first flame. Don't ask me how that works, or why the door is even there in the first place. Is it insinuating that they found the kiln of the first flame, the pygmies? I would like to think that it was constructed afterwards. Like, they found it, and that was the very first thing that all of the lords ended up doing. They were like, we have to protect this, because this shit is fucking important. So they might as well heal. So they ended up constructing all this shit around the kiln first thing before they made war with the dragons and ascended or something. So at one point in history, that door was made, and how exactly it's sealed and who made the Lord Vessel in the first place, I don't know. Let's just assume Gwyn did it or something. So it doesn't really make any sense. But the point being is that it is interesting that 2 fragments of his soul accounts for a Lord soul. Like, each one of those is a Lord soul as far as the Lord Vessel is concerned. We only get the Bed of Chaos, which is a corrupted version, probably a weakened version, of Quela's Lord Soul. And then we also get Nito's. And that's it. Just 2. That's all we get. And we get, like, just a small fragment of a third in Gwyn's. So Gwyn must have been really fucking strong in the first place in order for that to even work. And it is interesting that we're just using 2 fragments in order to make a coherent whole. We never deal with the actual Light Soul, and we never deal with the Dark Soul itself. Because, again, the whole logic of it is that even though there's Manus, prior to the DLC, the logic was that there is no Dark Lord, because the Dark Soul is still scaling, and the Age of Light still isn't over yet. So I guess you can kind of... We'll get more into that later as far as all that works. Let's sneak over here and open up his chest without him even knowing about it. What's inside? A large magic ember. For God's sakes, really? Logan, can you just never get enough? Do you have to sexually pleasure yourself with these things too? Ember required for weapon ascension. Large magic ember, a form of sorcery. Handled only by the Venheim. Yes, Venheim, I know. Ascends, blah, 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 blah. So even the magic ember has no lore significance. Just is magic. Use the magic. Aim and lock on someone and shoot, fire, press the button. And then they die because we're so strong. Yeah. So let's kill Logan. And there is a Soul of a Great Hero up there, by the way. Oh, actually, I probably should look at this first. Oh, let's go ahead and take care of Logan first. I'll try to show a little bit of his moveset. What if I can sneak up right behind him and backstab him? I've never actually tried this before. But he has very poor vision. Probably because of that giant hat. So I wonder if I can actually backstab him. Ah! Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that Logan was that much of a bitch. What a shame. What a crying shame. Sorcery White Dragon Breath, Big Hat, and 10 Crystallization Catalyst. Alright, the Catalyst is probably going to be the one that I forget, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. God, a lot of item descriptions in this one. Don't you think so? Yeah. You love it, though. You fucking love it. Let's see. 10 Crystallization Catalyst. Catalyst imbued with terrifying crystal magic, which we never saw. Used by Logan after his fixation on Seath. Makes all sorceries incredibly powerful, but demands extremely high intelligence from his wielder and how sorcery uses. So this is sort of a... I'll say it this way. This is sort of a Bloodborne thing. You know how Bloodborne is all about how if you have insight into how the things actually work, then you'll go crazy. That's kind of what happened to Seath and kind of what happened to Logan, although it's kind of poorly communicated in this game. It's the idea that the closer you get to realizing how exactly this crystal magic works, how it relates to the soul, and how it relates to how things exist, why things might be mortal versus immortal, the crazier you get. But just as far as this is concerned, then the more crystal shit you have, then the stronger it gets. Whatever. Okay, and let's see, what was the other 2 things? Big Hat and his stupid sorcery. His stupid old sorcery. Which one was it? Crystal Soul Spirit? No, it was White Dragon Breath, that's right. Sorcerer developed, this is probably the last thing he developed. He never sold it to us, so we can assume that it's the last thing that kind of sent him over the edge. Seath has the tendency to send Logan over the edge, as we've learned. I'm making a sexual joke, I'm sorry. Sorcerer developed by Logan during his infatuation with Seath the Scaleless, blah, blah, emit crystal breath of Seath the Scaleless. So, whether or not... I don't think that all the dragons had crystal breath. We've never seen that from anything else. Like, the minor drakes have lightning breath, for some reason. I think... Let's see. Now, we'll get into that later. Let's not worry about that until the DLC. Although it no longer causes curses, what madness caused old Big Hat to appropriate this frightful power of the ancient dragons? What madness caused him to appropriate it? Weird way of saying it. It's like it was there, but it was... The game is saying, why would he... Why was he so crazy that he would actually try to use it? I don't know. Doesn't make a lot of sense. By the way, I will point out that, as I've said in the past, the starting classes seem to be operating under the idea... It's a very Demon Souls concept, that the starting classes have base human limitations. Like, you start at, like, level 7 or whatever, and that's kind of as high as a human being can naturally go before a maiden in black pushes a bunch of demon souls inside of your body and allows you to exceed the limitations of, basic human limitations by turning you into the beginnings of a demon. And in Dark Souls, that idea is sort of carried over, except without much of an explanation. But the idea is that we grow stronger using these inhuman souls, gathering together souls. Then the same thing happens. And, sort of the normal human limits for intelligence are pretty small in comparison, like in the 10 to 20 range at the very highest. But this has a requirement of 50. So you would have to be pretty fucking insane to be able to use this. And that's it for that. Just that it no longer causes curses. So, something about the fact that a human being is using it, and not a creature that was born to the Great Lands, causes it to lose that ability. Something interesting to note in regards to that. And the last one was his big dumb hat. I don't think I have the rest of his shit yet. I can't remember if he has his own armor. It's been so long since I've thought about it. I can't remember if he actually has his own armor that I'm forgetting about, or if I, just haven't gotten it yet. Here it is. I'll worry about that later in the next part. Big Hat, Gigantic Hat, won by the great sorcerer Logan. It completely hit his face, which led to his nickname, Big Hat. I guess the children in Vinheim weren't particularly clever. Hey, it's old Big Hat! Look at his big hat! I wonder why Logan left Vinheim. So long, Big Hat! Your hat is so big! Fucking cocksucking. I'm sure that he left with a grumble like that. Famously antisocial, so man after our own hearts, I'm sure. Logan used it to block out noise and people's stares so that he could focus on his own thoughts, because he's so famous. He was a YouTube celebrity, so he had to use a big hat to keep people from noticing him. Which is pretty stupid, because the big hat acts as a marketing tool without him realizing it, and people just end up recognizing him instantly because he's the only person that's crazy enough to walk around with a gigantic-ass hat on top of his head. But it does not possess any special magical powers. So, completely worthless in that regard. Used it to block out noise and people's stares. So maybe that's the reason why we were able to creep around him so easily, because he has bad hearing because of a gigantic-ass hat. Where did I get his... I'm pretty sure that I'm missing his armor. I should have done that beforehand. It's been so long since I've even thought about it. No, come on, get out of here. But there's a couple more things that we need to do. We'll go over and pick up this stupid soul, which has no real merit. Soul of a great hero. There used to be a great hero here. That's Lord. He got it bad. He looks like he got charred or something, which is kind of interesting. Seath doesn't really use flame breath, so it is kind of interesting that he kind of looks like he's been burned alive. I don't know, it's kind of weird. Anyways, yeah, this used to be a library area, and now it's got crystal shit all over it. And, god damn it. I wonder if there's even a place where I can really see this. Really? I was pretty sure that there was a hole here. I guess he flies in through the gigantic-ass windows up here. Maybe that's it. And is this one actually open? It seems like one of them must be open. This is kind of shooting holes in my theory here. If there is no hole in the ceiling, then how the hell does he get in here? It's magic. It must be magic. Ooh. But it kind of looks like there is a hole up there, but it might have been sealed off by his magic breath or something. I don't know. I can't really tell. But since there is light kind of shining down from here, I think the implication that there is supposed to be a roof up here, but maybe they just never fixed the model or something. I don't know. Make that what you will or something. I don't know. But again, it is kind of weird that Seath just splooged all over the place. I mean, all these books are in here, and he just ruins every last one of them. Maybe they were all pornographies. Maybe this is his pornography store where he bought pornography, and he just splooged magic all over the place. But again, as far as this episode goes, the things to take away from this: magic is related to the soul. Souls are related to the crystallization effect. The crystallization effect is sort of laterally related to the way that the stone effect works. Stone is related to cursing, and crystal magic is also sort of related to the cursing, so they seem to be sort of the same thing in two different aspects. Stonifying people seems to be related to physicality, and crystallization seems to be related to the soul or magic. In much the same way that the dark soul is related to physicality, whereas the light soul is related to more of the spirituality aspects to existence. In much the same way that the death soul is related to just physicality, again, sort of a mundane physicality, and the light soul is sort of related to more the aspect of how you use physicality. So there is that balance between all aspects of the soul and all aspects of how magic works and how reality exists in the first place. All super complicated, but that's the gist of it. And why exactly that knowledge drives Logan mad, I don't know. It seems kind of just mundane to me, but whatever. I guess knowledge like that can be handled by everyone, just by me, just because I'm so amazing. Alright, but that's enough of that. Sorry for completely annihilating Logan's ass like that. I'm sorry. I'm really not, though. He deserved it. The only thing really to show off with him would have been his spells. I do have some old footage. No, I don't. Oh, I can restore that, though. I can do that. So I might show off a little bit of that while I'm talking or something. So you might have seen that before now. Alright, but that's enough of that. Get out of here, footage. Get out of here, if you're even there. Alright, I will see you guys next time in Dark Souls Part 25. Maybe by then I'll actually have the energy to do these appropriately. And again, I'm sorry for the delay and whatnot. But whatever, you have Bloodborne to look forward to. Which I probably won't be doing a playthrough of for quite a long time. Don't like that? Too bad. Bye! See you later. Say goodbye, sea soul. Oh, you can't, 'cause you're a bitch. Oh, that's right, it's right here. I had to rezone like 2 or 3 times to get it to show back up. But here it is, it's right where you have to wait until he actually goes hollow and you get rid of him. Then it'll show back up. After apparently 2 or 3 rezones. Just gotta be patient with it. He is a sage after all. Logan's Catalyst, Sage Robe, Traveling Gloves, blah blah blah. Alright, let's take a look at these and then we'll finally be done, for God's sakes. I'm hungry right now. I really don't want to do this right now. Logan's Catalyst. Even though he dropped this, just don't worry about it. He had both for some reason. Catalyst of Big Hat Logan, the great sorcerer and seeker of knowledge. Originally the same Catalyst employed by the Vinheim sorcerers, Vinheim again. Only terribly strengthened over time due to Logan's use. I guess that is kind of interesting. Maybe it's insinuating that he's just been upgrading it, but it's kind of more interesting to assume that because he was using it, that somehow that also made this really fucking powerful. Very powerful when used by one of superior intelligence. You know, he got stabbed in the back. What a smart ass he was. Alright, one last thing. But go back up to where his dumb big hat was. And we'll finally be done. Oh my god, this part just feels like it's never going to end for me. Where the hell is it? Oh, finally, thank God. Robe worn by Big Hat Logan. It is said to have been from his apprentice days at Dragon School, but it is so worn out no one knows what it originally looked like. It doesn't look like any of the other things, so maybe it's just really old. But I guess it's just been modified so much over time that who the hell knows. Logan, who cared little for his appearance, no doubt ever bothered to change out of it. So in addition to it being an ugly, raggedy piece of crap, it also smells, because Logan kept farting in it. Gloves worn by blah blah blah, they're indistinguishable from ordinary kind of worn by travelers. So nothing special about that. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that fucking fascinating? Okay. Good fucking bye, everyone, for God's sakes. How's it feel, Logan? To be an obstruction to entertainment? Feels pretty fucking bad. Now, can't wait to poison myself by eating like a whole frozen pizza.